In today's economy, stretching your dollar isn't just smart, it's necessary. Ground beef, that humble package in your freezer, can be transformed into 25 different meals for under $5 each. These aren't just recipes, they're survival strategies that have kept American families going through tough times for generations. Stay with me to discover how this overlooked protein could be the answer to your budget struggles. Classic stuffed peppers. Let me tell you about my neighbor Martha, who lost her job during the 2008 recession. She told me stuffed peppers were what kept her family fed for months. This isn't just food, it's a survival strategy disguised as comfort food. Bell peppers are consistently one of the most affordable vegetables year-round, currently averaging about 75 cents each. One pepper creates a complete meal vessel. You'll need 4 bell peppers, half a pound of ground beef, some rice, a can of tomato sauce, and an onion. Total cost, just $4.84 for 4 servings. That's $1.21 per person. The real value? This combination of protein, vegetables, and rice keeps hunger at bay for hours. Just brown your beef with diced onion and garlic. Add cooked rice and half the tomato sauce. Cut the tops off your peppers, remove the seeds, stuff them with the mixture, and pour the remaining sauce over top. Bake at 350 degrees for 35 minutes. What made this a Depression-era staple wasn't just the cost, it was how it transformed humble ingredients into something that felt special during hard times. People weren't just surviving, they were maintaining dignity through meals that nourished both body and spirit. Hamburger soup. Now let's talk about hamburger soup. During the harsh winter of 2019, when much of the Midwest was hit with record unemployment, this soup became a lifeline for countless families. You only need half a pound of ground beef, a few basic vegetables like carrots, potatoes, celery, and onion, a can of diced tomatoes, and some beef broth. For about $4.34, you can make a pot that serves 6 people. That's just 72 cents per serving. This isn't just soup, it's liquid gold when temperatures drop and heating bills rise. The preparation couldn't be simpler. Brown your beef, add chopped vegetables and sauté until the onions are translucent. Add tomatoes and broth, then simmer for 30 minutes. The magic happens in that simmering time. Flavors meld together, creating something that tastes like it. Took all day to make. I interviewed my Aunt Doris, who raised 5 kids on a factory worker's salary in Detroit. She'd make this soup every Sunday, and they'd eat it for 3 days straight. It wasn't about being poor, she told me. It was about being smart with what we had. That wisdom has saved countless American families during economic downturns. Simple. Beef enchiladas. Let me share a story that really touched me. When Maria from our community lost her husband to illness in 2018, she was suddenly raising 3 teenagers on a single income. These enchiladas became her Wednesday night tradition, affordable enough to fit her new budget, while special enough that her kids still felt some normalcy during their grief. All you need is half a pound of ground beef, a packet of taco seasoning, 8 corn tortillas, a small can of enchilada sauce, and a bit of cheese and onion. For just $4.63, you can make 8 enchiladas that feed 4 people, $1.16 per serving. Brown your beef with the chopped onion, drain excess fat, add taco seasoning with a splash of water. Dip each tortilla in enchilada sauce, fill with the beef mixture, roll up, and place in a baking dish. Pour remaining sauce over the top, sprinkle with cheese, and bake at 375 degrees for 20 minutes until bubbly. These enchiladas became Maria's way of saying to her kids, "We're going to be okay," without having to say the words. Food has always been how we communicate love and stability when times are tough. This recipe isn't just about feeding your family, it's about maintaining their sense of security when the world feels uncertain. Salisbury steak with mushroom gravy. During the 1970s energy crisis, when American families were stretched thin between gas rationing and rising food costs, this humble dish became a restaurant-quality meal that people could make at home for a fraction of the cost. You'll need half a pound of ground beef, some breadcrumbs, an egg, onion, mushrooms, flour, and beef broth. For about $4.37, you can feed 3 people, $1.45 per serving. The emotional payoff comes from creating something that tastes like you spent much more. Jim, a retired factory worker I interviewed, told me his mother made this every payday Friday during the 1950s. It wasn't about the ingredients, he said. It was about dignity. Even when money was tight, we felt like we were eating like kings. This recipe carries that same emotional weight today, turning necessity into a moment of pride. Mix beef with breadcrumbs, egg, half the diced onion, and seasonings. Form into oval patties and brown them in a skillet. Remove the patties, sauté, remaining onion and mushrooms in the same pan, add flour to make a roux, slowly whisk in broth, return patties to the pan, and simmer until the gravy thickens. Beef and bean burritos. During the 2020 pandemic, when millions of Americans faced unexpected job losses, these burritos became a lifeline for families navigating sudden financial insecurity. You only need a quarter pound of ground beef, a can of refried beans, 8 flour tortillas, a little cheese, and a tomato. For just $4.82, you can make 8 burritos. That's only 60 cents each. These can be individually wrapped and frozen, creating an emergency meal stash that many families relied on during uncertain times. Brown your beef with taco seasonings, mix with refried beans, spread onto tortillas, add diced tomato and cheese, then fold and roll. You can eat them as is or toast them in a dry skillet for a crispy exterior. Sarah, a single mother of 3 in Ohio, told me these burritos helped her stretch her food stamps after being furloughed. It wasn't just cheap food, she explained. It was knowing I could feed my kids something they actually enjoyed eating, even when I could barely pay the rent. These burritos represent the resilience of American families who refuse to let financial hardship diminish the care they provide. Sloppy Joes. This Depression-era classic has seen American families through multiple economic downturns from the 1930s all the way to today's inflation challenges. You'll need half a pound of ground beef, an onion, half a bell pepper, ketchup, brown sugar, mustard, and hamburger buns. Total cost? $4.82 for 4 sandwiches, $1.20 per serving. The true value lies in how quickly this meal comes together when you're exhausted from working multiple jobs to make ends meet. Frank, a retired school teacher, told me his mother fed 6 children on a janitor's salary during the 1950s. Sloppy. Joe night meant we had made it through another week, he shared. It wasn't fancy, but it was reliable when not much else was. Brown your beef with diced onion and pepper, drain excess fat, add ketchup, brown sugar, mustard, and seasonings. Simmer for 10 minutes until slightly thickened, then serve on buns. This recipe continues to provide that same comfort to families navigating financial uncertainty today. Beefy macaroni skillet. When layoffs swept through steel towns in the 1980s, this one-pan meal became a staple for families suddenly living on unemployment benefits. For just $3.72, you can make a skillet that feeds 4 people. That's 93 cents per serving. All you need is a 1/3 pound of ground beef, a cup of elbow macaroni, an onion, a can of diced tomatoes, and a little cheese. Rebecca, whose husband was laid off from the auto industry in 2008, told me this dish helped them avoid food banks for months. "I could make it without thinking," she said. "When you're worried about losing your house, having a meal you can make on autopilot is worth more than gold." Brown your beef with diced onion, add uncooked macaroni, tomatoes, and water. Cover and simmer for 15 minutes until pasta is tender, then stir in cheese until melted. This recipe continues to provide that mental and financial relief to families facing similar challenges today. Cheesy beef rice casserole. During the savings and loan crisis of the early 1990s, when mortgage rates soared and family budgets contracted, this hearty casserole became a way to feed extended families who sometimes had to combine households to make ends meet. You only need a 1/3 pound of ground beef, a cup of rice, an onion, a can of cream of mushroom soup, and some cheese. For just $3.93, you can make a casserole that feeds 6 people. That's only 65 cents per serving. Helen, who took in her daughter's family during the housing crisis, told me this casserole fed 7 people for pennies. It wasn't about the recipe, she explained. It was about keeping the family together through hard times. Brown your beef with diced onion, combine with uncooked rice, soup, water, and seasonings in a casserole dish. Cover with foil and bake at 350 degrees for 50 minutes. Then uncover, add cheese and bake 10 more minutes until melted. This casserole continues to provide that same support to multi-generational households, pooling resources to weather economic storms. Beef cabbage rolls. This Eastern European staple became a lifeline for American immigrant families during economic downturns, offering exceptional nutrition and satisfying comfort for minimal cost. For just $4.81, you can make 8 cabbage rolls. That's only 60 cents each. You'll need a 1/3 pound of ground beef, half a cup of rice, a head of cabbage, an onion, and a can of tomato sauce. Anna, whose grandparents immigrated during the Great Depression, shared that cabbage rolls were how her family survived those difficult years. My grandmother could feed everyone for days on just a bit of ground beef and a head of cabbage, she said. It taught me that poverty doesn't have to mean poor nutrition. Mix raw beef with partially cooked rice, diced onion, and seasonings. Boil cabbage leaves until pliable, then wrap around the meat mixture. Place in a baking dish, cover with tomato sauce, and bake at 300 degrees for 1 hour. This wisdom continues to nourish families navigating financial hardship today. Simple beef stroganoff. When the dot-com bubble burst in the early 2000s and many Americans suddenly found themselves unemployed, this simplified version of a classic Russian dish provided comfort without breaking strained budgets. For about $4.64, you can make 4 servings. That's $1.16 per person. You'll need half a pound of ground beef, 8 ounces of egg noodles, 8 ounces of mushrooms, some sour cream, and an onion. David, a software engineer who lost his job during that recession, told me this meal became his family's Friday night tradition. It felt special enough that we didn't feel deprived, he explained. That psychological boost was as important as the nutrition. Brown your beef with diced onion, add sliced mushrooms and cook until softened. Sprinkle with flour, cook for 1 minute, then slowly add water or broth. Simmer until thickened, remove from heat, and stir in sour cream. Serve overcooked egg noodles. This recipe continues to provide that same emotional nourishment to families weathering economic uncertainty. Today, Texas hash. During the farm crises of the 1980s, when rural American families faced foreclosures and financial devastation, this hearty one-pan meal offered sustenance and comfort using ingredients many farm families had on hand. For just $3.82, you can make a skillet that feeds 5 people. That's only 76 cents per serving. You'll need a 1/3 pound of ground beef, a cup of rice, an onion, a bell pepper, and a can of diced tomatoes. Martha, who grew up on a family farm during that difficult period, told me this dish was how her mother fed 8 people when selling. The farm seemed inevitable. It wasn't fancy, she said, but it kept us going through the uncertainty. We knew as long as Mom could make Texas hash, we'd be okay. Brown your beef with diced onion and pepper, add uncooked rice, tomatoes, water, and seasonings. Cover and simmer for 20 minutes until rice is tender. This meal continues to provide that same reassurance to rural families facing economic challenges today. Italian meatball soup. During the 2008 housing crisis, when many Americans lost their homes and had to drastically cut expenses, this soup emerged as a way to create a restaurant-quality meal for pennies on the dollar. For just $4.29, you can make 6 servings. That's 71 cents per bowl. You'll need a 1/4 pound of ground beef, some carrots, celery, an onion, breadcrumbs, an egg, chicken broth, a little pasta, and a can of diced tomatoes. Robert, who lost his construction business during that recession, shared that this soup helped his family maintain some normalcy. We couldn't take the kids out to eat anymore, he explained, but this soup made dinner feel special even when we were counting pennies. Mix beef with breadcrumbs, egg, and seasonings to form tiny meatballs. In a pot, sauté vegetables, add broth and tomatoes, bring to a simmer, then drop in meatballs and pasta. Cook until meatballs are done and pasta is tender. This recipe continues to provide that sense of normalcy to families navigating sudden financial challenges. Beef taco rice bowls. When pandemic-related inflation hit American households in 2022, this adaptable meal helped families maintain a sense of variety while working with increasingly limited grocery budgets. For about $4.57, you can make 4 bowls. That's $1.14 per serving. You'll need a third pound of ground beef, a cup of rice, taco seasoning, a can of black beans, a tomato, and some cheese. Lisa, a healthcare worker and mother of 3 teenagers, told me these bowls saved her sanity during inflationary price spikes. Kids could customize their own bowls, she explained, which gave them a sense of control when so much else felt uncertain. Brown your beef with taco seasoning, cook rice separately, then set up a bowl bar with beef, rice, beans, diced, tomato, cheese, and any other toppings you have available. This meal continues to provide that same adaptability to families navigating rising food costs today. Beef and potato hash. During the post-World War II rationing period, when American families had to stretch every resource, this hearty breakfast-for-dinner option became a staple that continued to support families through subsequent economic downturns. For just $2.67, you can make a skillet that feeds 3 people. That's only 89 cents per serving. You'll need a quarter pound of ground beef, 3 potatoes, an onion, and 2 eggs. George, who grew up during that era, told me his mother would make this when his father worked late shifts at the factory. It didn't matter if we ate at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m., he said. It kept us going regardless of when Dad's shift ended. Dice and parboil potatoes, then brown ground beef with diced onion in a skillet. Add potatoes and cook until crispy. Create wells. In the hash and crack eggs directly into them. Cover and cook until eggs are set. This adaptability continues to support families working multiple jobs to make ends meet today. Chili mac. During the recession of the early 1990s, this hybrid comfort food became a go-to for parents trying to stretch their food dollars while still serving meals their children would actually eat. For just $4.06, you can make a pot that feeds 5 people. That's only 81 cents per serving. You'll need a third pound of ground beef, a cup of elbow macaroni, an onion, a can of kidney beans, a can of diced tomatoes, and some chili powder. Jennifer, who raised 4 children as a single mother during that recession, told me this dish was her Wednesday night salvation. The kids never complained about having it, she said. When you're stretching every dollar, not having to fight about dinner is worth more than gold. Brown your beef with diced onion. Add macaroni, beans, tomatoes, seasonings, and water. Simmer until pasta is tender and sauce has thickened. This recipe continues to provide that same relief to parents navigating financial stress today. Shepherd's pie. During the energy crisis of the 1970s, when heating and grocery costs competed for limited family resources, this complete one-dish meal offered maximum nutrition with minimal fuel usage. For just $3.03, you can make a casserole that feeds 4 people. That's only 91 cents per serving. You'll need a third pound of ground beef, 3 potatoes, an onion, 2 carrots, some frozen peas, a little flour, milk, and butter. Thomas, whose father was laid off during the auto industry crisis, shared that this dish was how his mother fed the family of 6 on unemployment benefits. It wasn't just about being cheap, he explained. It was a complete meal that only used the oven once, which saved on the gas bill too. Brown your beef with diced onion and carrots. Sprinkle with flour, add water or broth and seasonings, and simmer until thickened. Add peas, transfer to a baking dish. Boil and mash potatoes with milk and butter. Spread over meat mixture and bake at 375 degrees for 30 minutes until golden. This dual-purpose economy continues to support families balancing multiple financial pressures today. Picadillo. During economic downturns that particularly affected Latino communities, this traditional dish helped families maintain cultural connections while stretching limited resources. For just $3.34, you can make a skillet that feeds 4 people. That's only 83 cents per serving. You'll need a third pound of ground beef, a potato, a carrot, an onion, some tomato paste, olives, and raisins. Elena, who immigrated from Cuba during economic hardship, told me this dish was how she kept her family connected to their roots. Even when money was tight, Picadillo made us feel rich in tradition, she said. That connection was more valuable than any luxury we couldn't afford. Brown your beef with diced onion, add diced potato and carrot, tomato paste, water, olives, raisins and seasonings. Simmer until vegetables are tender and flavors have melded. This recipe continues to provide that cultural sustenance to immigrant families navigating economic challenges today. Hamburger, gravy over toast. During the Great Depression, this ultra-simple meal emerged as a way to create something filling and comforting with minimal ingredients, a strategy that continued to serve American families through subsequent economic struggles. For just $3.38, you can make a meal that feeds 4 people. That's only 84 cents per serving. You'll need a third pound of ground beef, some flour, milk, an onion, and bread. Harold, now in his 90s, told me this was what his mother made twice weekly during the Depression. It wasn't fancy, he said, but it filled our bellies and gave us strength to face another day of uncertainty. Brown your beef with diced onion, sprinkle with flour, and cook for 1 minute. Then slowly whisk in milk. Simmer until thickened, season to taste, and serve over toasted bread. This simple combination continues to provide that basic sustenance to families facing economic hardship today. Beef and corn fritters. During the rationing of WET, when meat was scarce and expensive, these fritters emerged as a way to stretch a small amount of ground beef into a satisfying meal, a strategy that continues to help families during personal financial crises. For just $2.91, you can make 12 fritters. That's only 24 cents each. You'll need a quarter pound of ground beef, a can of corn, a cup of flour, 2 eggs, an onion, and a little oil for frying. Grit, whose husband was deployed during WOT, shared that these fritters helped her feed 3 children on her factory salary. I could make them ahead and pack them in lunch pails, she explained. They stayed good all day and gave the kids protein when meat was hard to come by. Brown your beef with diced onion, then mix with drained corn, flour, eggs, and seasonings to form a thick batter. Drop by spoonfuls into hot oil and fry until, i.e., golden on both sides. This practicality continues to support working parents stretching limited resources today. Dirty rice. During economic downturns that particularly affected southern communities, this traditional Cajun dish helped families maintain regional food traditions while stretching a small amount of meat into a filling meal. For just $3.38, you can make a pot that feeds 6 people. That's only 56 cents per serving. You'll need a quarter pound of ground beef, a cup of rice, an onion, a bell pepper, some celery, and chicken broth. James, whose family struggled through multiple hurricanes and their financial aftermath in Louisiana, told me this dish was their Sunday tradition, no matter how tight money got. It connected us to our heritage, he explained. Even when we had to rebuild our lives from scratch, dirty rice meant we still had our culture. Brown your beef with the holy trinity of onion, bell pepper, and celery. Add rice and broth and simmer until rice is tender. This recipe continues to provide that connection to cultural roots for families facing displacement and financial hardship today. Beef stuffed zucchini boats. During the 2008 recession, when many Americans turned to home gardening to supplement tight food budgets, this recipe became a way to transform garden abundance into satisfying meals. For about $4.30, you can make 8 stuffed zucchini halves. That's only 54 cents each. You'll need 4 medium zucchini, a quarter pound of ground beef, half an onion, some breadcrumbs, a bit of cheese, and a few basic seasonings. Marie, who lost her real estate job during the housing crisis, told me these zucchini boats helped her family eat well from their garden when they couldn't afford much at the grocery store. "We grew the zucchini ourselves," she said. "Turning them into a complete meal with just a little meat made us feel resourceful instead of poor. Cut zucchini in half lengthwise, scoop out centers, chop the centers, and mix with browned beef, onion, breadcrumbs, and seasonings. Stuff mixture back into zucchini shells, sprinkle with cheese, and bake until tender." This garden-to-table approach continues to help families supplement their food budgets during financial strain. Beef and bean taco cups. During the latest inflation spike, when tortilla prices nearly doubled, this creative alternative helped families maintain taco night traditions without breaking tight budgets. For just $4.25, you can make 12 taco cups. That's only 35 cents each. You'll need a quarter pound of ground beef, a can of refried beans, a package of wonton wrappers, much cheaper than tortillas, some cheese, and basic taco seasonings. Angela, a teacher whose salary hasn't kept pace with inflation, told me these taco cups saved her family's weekly taco tradition. "My kids didn't even miss the tortillas," she explained. "They thought these were more fun, and I could make them go twice as far with the beans." Press wonton wrappers into muffin tins. Mix browned seasoned beef with refried beans. Spoon mixture into cups, top with cheese, and bake until crispy. This creative problem-solving continues to help families maintain food traditions while adapting to rising costs. Goulash. During multiple economic downturns throughout American history, this humble one-pot meal has provided filling, flavorful sustenance with minimal ingredients and effort. For just $3.95, you can make a pot that feeds 6 people. That's only 66 cents per serving. You'll need a third pound of ground beef, a cup of elbow macaroni, an onion, a can of diced tomatoes, and a few basic seasonings. Richard, who grew up during the stagflation of the 1970s, told me this dish was on his family's table at least twice a week. "Mum called it stretching the meat," he said. "But to us kids, it was just our favorite comfort food. We never realized it was because money was tight. Brown your beef with diced onion, add macaroni, tomatoes, and 2 cups of water. Season with paprika and simmer until pasta is tender and sauce has thickened." This humble dish continues to provide that filling comfort to families navigating financial uncertainty today. Beef fried rice. During periods of economic hardship that particularly affected Asian American communities, this dish emerged as a way to transform leftover rice into a complete, protein-rich meal with minimal meat. For just $3.15, you can make a skillet that feeds 4 people. That's only 79 cents per serving. You'll need a quarter pound of ground beef, 2 cups of cold cooked rice, 2 eggs, an onion, and whatever vegetables you have on hand. Lynn, whose parents immigrated during economic hardship, told me this dish was their family's solution to making food stretch without waste. "My mother could make yesterday's rice and a tiny bit of meat feed our entire family," she explained. "Nothing ever went to waste, and we always felt satisfied." Brown your beef, push to one side of the pan, scramble eggs on the other side. Add cold rice and chopped vegetables, stir-fry until hot, and season with soy sauce. This waste-reducing approach continues to help families maximize every ingredient during financial strain. Skillet Tamale Pie. During the Dust Bowl era, when many American families were displaced and facing dire economic circumstances, this hearty, one-pan meal provided maximum nutrition with minimal equipment, perfect for families with limited kitchen access. For about $4.75, you can make a skillet that feeds 6 people. That's only 79 cents per serving. You'll need a third pound of ground beef, cornmeal, a can of black beans, a can of corn, a can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, and some cheese. Dorothy, whose grandparents traveled west during the Dust Bowl migration, told me this tamale pie helped her family survive that journey. They could make it in one cast-iron skillet over a campfire, she explained. It gave them strength to keep going toward the hope of a better future. Brown your beef, add beans, corn, tomatoes, and seasonings. Mix cornmeal with water to make a thick batter. Spread over the top, sprinkle with cheese, cover, and cook until cornbread layer is set. This adaptable, equipment-minimal approach continues to support families facing housing insecurity and limited cooking facilities today. In these challenging economic times, I hope these 25 ground beef recipes that cost under $5 each give you the practical tools to feed your family well without breaking your budget. These aren't just recipes, they're the collected wisdom of generations of Americans who found ways to thrive despite financial hardship. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more practical, budget-friendly content. Remember, tough times don't last, but tough people do, especially when they know how to make their food dollars stretch further.